Hi, I'm Rick Goss with ITI, and we're here talking innovation with Kathrin Winkler, the Chief Sustainability Officer of EMC in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. Kathrin, welcome.
Thank you, Rick.
Wanted to start, just talk a bit broadly here about the challenges and opportunities that you see for the tech sector in our primary areas where you and I work in terms of energy and environment sustainability, with a lot of changing landscapes, both from a policy perspective and in terms of some of the geographic challenges and opportunities we have around the globe.
It's a huge area, Rick, and it's so exciting to be in the IT sector because sustainability has been really incorporated into the missions of most of the IT sector. As you know, we've been leading in a couple of different areas. Of course, energy efficiency is one of the most important ones, and not only always from an environmental perspective. Energy efficiency is clearly very important from a financial perspective as well. There are other aspects from an environmental point of view. We look at material content, what's in the products, where does it come from, as you know, and we can talk about this. We care not only about, is it material that is reusable, not much of it is these days yet, but also what are the impacts of sourcing the material. And by the way, that's not always environmental. So sustainability really looks at the risks and the opportunities from environmental and social and economic developments, to quote Dow Jones, and they tend to be very integrated. So the issue of material sourcing from conflict mines, for example, a very important issue for the industry, clearly has both social and environmental ramifications.
Absolutely.
And then there's, of course, waste. So how do we reduce waste? What happens to it? E-waste has had a lot of informal channels that have caused health problems, environmental problems, and so working as an industry to make sure that we are maximizing our recovery, minimizing the misuse of it at the end of life. And by the way, when you maximize recovery, you maximize value recovery as well. So it's also good financially. A lot happening.
And let me play off a couple of the points you made in terms of the business and the financial piece of this as well. Obviously, given our role as very well-known, very progressive companies, EMC and the rest of our members here, there's a certain attention and scrutiny placed on our companies here as well. But you've referenced a couple of times that there are financial and business imperatives at play here, and I wanted to see if you could expand upon that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. They come in a couple of forms. They come in the risk side, of course, which is anything that is waste, whether it's wasted energy, wasted material, wasted packaging, wasted logistics. All of that has financial implications. If uncertainty has financial implications, and that's a major factor in policy, right? Because there is a cost to uncertainty itself. So understanding the regulatory future is very important. And then the most important part, of course, is the opportunity. There really are incredible opportunities for information technology in sustainability. It's at the core of just about every sector's opportunities to innovate, to become more efficient, to look at radically new ways of doing things. EMC is in the cloud computing and big data business. And cloud computing is an opportunity to locate IT where it makes most sense, financially and for the users, but also environmentally. But it also allows people to not over-provision, to do on-demand resource acquisition, to be more flexible and therefore be more efficient. Big data is something I'm incredibly excited about. This is, creating new knowledge.
Right.
Because of the ability now with technology to aggregate or to analyze huge volumes of data in near real time from a variety of different sources. And so, the opportunities for the IT industry are frankly limitless. And
you look at the opportunities, as you say here, I would have to say we're probably the only industry that allows every other sector, every other industry of the economy to become more efficient, more energy efficient, more efficient in terms of production, in terms of job creation, in terms of knowledge, and addressing that uncertainty issue, I think, is a big part of it in terms of what you mentioned about data. The ability to coalesce and put together and aggregate data and understand how to make better decisions, but also how to go through and run a smart grid, smart building, smart transportation system. It's the IT industry and the related stakeholders here that allow a lot of those advances to occur. So let me drill down a little bit here in terms of EMC specifically. You and I work together on quite a few issues, many of which we've raised here already. what's top of mind? What's near and dear in terms of what EMC is trying to accomplish as you maintain your leadership position?
Well, from my perspective as sustainability lead, of course, first and foremost is we have to have our own house in order. And I don't just mean within our walls, but our entire value system. The point you made about IT underlying all these other sectors also means that we are in the supply chain of all those other sectors. And our customers are holding us accountable for what we do. And so we have to earn the right to help them reduce their impact and make substantial improvements by doing the same thing ourselves. That's certainly key for me. As a corporation, we're looking, as I said, at big data as huge opportunities. We have customers that are using big data in healthcare, in genome sequencing, brain mapping. We're seeing big data being used in siting for efficient use of renewable resources. We're seeing big data in climate analysis. I mean, it's so exciting to feel, that this, what used to be so geeky is actually, the basis of these new innovations that really could make a fundamental difference in the way the world is running, not very far from now.
Exactly. I mean, to use an overused word, it's an entirely new paradigm in terms of our ability to put that data together and see what the patterns are and to make decisions based on it.
You know that there's a project in Haiti now that's looking at big data as providing the potential to be able to stop the cholera epidemics, or at least be able to take the top off the cholera epidemic in Haiti, because it can pull together data from about hygiene, from healthcare, from how people are migrating around the country, looking at cell phone data, looking at text data, and by pulling it all together, have an understanding of where it's going and figure out how to stop it. That's a capability we just didn't have, a year ago.
Right. You look at the solution-oriented part of tech here.
Absolutely.
So let me end with a shameless plug for ITI.
Sure.
We've worked very closely with EMC. You and I have worked together very closely on a number of issues over the years. Where do you see the value for EMC in terms of your engagement with ITI on these issues? It's
been terrific in a number of different ways. First of all, because the industry is so committed to sustainability, the interaction we have on the regulatory side is not so much, only do laws that are good for me.
Right.
It's about how can we create a future that makes sense for the planet and makes sense for business. And so it's really, I was very influenced very early in my career by the book Getting to Yes, the idea of principled negotiation, which is not, you have a position and mine is the opposite, but it's what are our interests, what are we trying to achieve, and what's a way to do that together. And ITI has always demonstrated exactly that principle, brought the parties together to figure out how we can achieve the interests of everybody rather than just butt heads. We recently had the roadmap meeting with the EPA. That was a tremendous discussion. Instead of, putting out a spec and industry giving a response back to it, we were in a room together figuring out how do we move this forward so that we can make the industry more efficient, because we have to, because data centers are so core to everything else that is happening. The other thing is the subject matter expertise, Rick. And one of the ways in which we've worked together is I or my team have called you up and said, Rick, help me.
Right.
What's going on in this space? I need to understand, what should we be thinking as we put in place our new processes? Where is it going from a regulatory perspective? Where is it going from an industry perspective? You've been a tremendous source of knowledge. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I mean, as ITI, we have the perch we can sit upon and look and talk to all our companies and get that view to understand, outside of any given company's judgment or perspectives or experiences, where the overall issue is going. So it's a very good place to be able to sit and be able to provide that type of value to our companies.
I think the first time you and I had a good long talk was at a multi-sector meeting on conflict minerals. Now, this is way back before Dodd-Frank, so it was before there was a regulatory requirement, but the industry was coming together because we knew it was the right thing to do to find a way to maintain economic value for people in Central Africa, but at the same time not fund the insurgents.
Precisely.
It was supposed to be a multi-sectoral meeting, and who showed up? The IT industry. And you stood up and spoke for the IT industry, and I thought, gosh, I'm so proud that I'm part of this industry that's trying to make such a difference. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and thank you for taking a few minutes with us today, Kathrin.
It's a pleasure.
Appreciate it.